Welcome to the Afterspark podcast, an episode-by-episode recap of the original G1 Transformers cartoon. I'm Alice.
And I'm Specs.
And we're here to talk to you about giant robots. Or at least, we will be. This is actually our intro. What we'd like to do is recap all of Generation 1 because it is full of glorious, glorious cheese. Delightful, cheesy goodness. And honestly, we just want to talk about it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And we just wanted to introduce ourselves and kind of our experience with the fandom and what things we like before we got into actually talking about the episodes. You should be able to check out our actual first episode at the same time we post this. So if you're like, hey, I don't really care about any of this stuff, it's cool. I get it. The other episode's over there. It's fine. We'll see you in a few minutes. For the rest of you that are sticking around, allow us to introduce ourselves. We've been friends for 9 years. We went to college together. We were both in art degrees, so we like art and comics and media and all that junk.
Yep.
We're also neighbors that live in the same building, so one day I was like, hey, Specs, you want to talk about giant robots?
And I'm like, yes.
So here we are, getting ready to talk to you about giant robots, hopefully. We are both first-time podcasters, and a shout out to my husband Chesney for helping us out with sound, so hopefully we don't sound like complete shit while you're listening to us. Hopefully it's a little bit slightly, cultured shit, or at least our sound quality doesn't sound awful, because that's a big deal in podcast. One of my biggest inspirations was the Gem Jam, which is another podcast that does episode-by-episode recaps of Gem and the Holograms, which is another 80s Hasbro
franchise.
Thank you. That is equally ridiculous in vastly different ways, mostly involving the 80s, and music, and hair, and fashion, and all these lovely things.
And soap opera drama.
And soap opera level of drama. It is also delightful. Go watch the show or listen to the podcast, because it is completely ridiculous and highly entertaining. But something I noticed when I was trying to kind of look around at Transformers podcast was that I didn't see anything that quite had that same vibe of just a bunch of friends talking about something ridiculous, and I really wanted that and realized it wasn't there and thought, maybe we could do that, and yeah, that's what we're trying to do.
So hi, I'm Specs. I've been, this feels like I'm in a support group.
Welcome. Tennis, how Transformers has affected your life. Tennis, Specs, tennis.
And I got into Transformers in 2002, 2003, and I got into it with fanfic because of course I did. So much fanfic over the last 16 years. Oh my god.
She has quite a collection. Oh really?
I save things habitually after there was the great Esbord wipeout of 2005, but that's a bit of a digression. So I got into fanfic, or got into Transformers through fanfic. Basically, I'd been poking through the Metabots thing on fanfiction.net, and was like, oh, this person who wrote this thing that I read has also written about these other robots. And it's like, okay, let me check this out, and I had no idea what was going on, so I was like, I'm going to read through this entire category. Or at least look through, find whatever the heck looks interesting, and then read it. And that was there were 4,000 things in the category at that point.
Which is significantly less than what's in there now, I do feel the need to point out. But
I still went through that, and yeah, there was a lot of stuff. There's actually still things that I really like that I read way back when. But basically, that was my first exposure to Transformers. My first complete canon experience was the G1 comics, both the US and UK run, so I've read the entirety of that, and I think I read that before 2003 was done, so before 2004. I've still got it. It's been a long time since I've read it. Basically, my dad bought a CD, or 2 CDs actually, that had scans of the comics, and that's how I read it. That was my complete G1 comic experience.
So, accidentally pirating.
Kind of, yeah.
Not intentional, but,
Yeah, and then I ended up on the Padded Cell, which was the major sort of transformative fandom hub at the time. A lot of the stuff that you see in fanfic now came from people who were on that forum from 2000 to, I guess, to 2008. It wasn't really the hub of anything anymore as things shifted to LiveJournal and Tumblr. People moved away from forums into,
other social media accounts.
Yeah.
That were easier and, they didn't have to keep servers up and all that junk.
Yeah, but it was neat because I got to see a lot of the fandom stuff, evolving firsthand. But, so yeah, my fave G1 characters are Ratchet, because I really thought that he was, like, the main character of the comics for a while, because, like, everyone is freaking, like, all the Autobots are freaking out, like, really quickly after they wake up, and Ratchet's just off doing whatever with Buster, and then he has to do, like, a blood fuel pact with Megatron, and it's weird.
I have no frame of reference for any of this.
Well, maybe you will soon.
She's lending them to me. Oh no.
And then there's Dead End, because, like, the first DVDs that I got the second half of season 2. It was like, I like Dead End's voice. Oh no, he's depressed. Let me hug this poor robot. And so, yeah, I got I have an entire, like, complete original G1 Stunticon toys. A set of the G1 toys with all of their, like, combiner stuff. Never actually got around to combining them, because I'm lazy, and I was more interested in the characters themselves than in Menasor. So, yeah, I've got those. I'll bring them up to show them to you, and I'll bring the Alternator Dead End up, too.
Yes, show me more toys!
And Wheeljack, which I don't have an original Wheeljack toy, but I do have a Wheeljack alternator. Basically, G1 sort of got me on the kick for medics and scientists. I like most of the medics that pop up in various series. And yeah, and so favorite overall characters, Ratchet Rescue-Bot Blades, who coincidentally is kind of the Rescue-Bot's medic.
He was, before he got turned into a helicopter.
Yeah.
Which is a great out-of-context thing to say.
Yes, it is.
Blades is adorable!
And, like, all of the Rescue-Bots characters are adorable, and you should watch that right now.
It is better than it has any right to be. I know, you're sitting here going, if you haven't seen it already, obviously, you're sitting here going, why would I watch something that was made for preschoolers? It is written better than it has any right to be. I do not know why. I don't care why. It is actually quite good and very entertaining, even if you're an adult and you like Transformers.
It's got some of the most consistent writing out of any of the shows. Like, they knew what they had to do, they worked well within the guidelines that they had to work with, because, like, no one can die, no one can be seriously
Right, because preschoolers, right.
And so it doesn't have any of the weird tonal inconsistencies that sometimes Prime could get. And it wasn't, like, canceled like Animated was. Yeah. And then Rewind. And he's basically kind of a librarian, and I think just Rewind and Chromedome are really neat. I like them both. I like most of the IDW characters.
They're very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Favorite series? IDW G1, especially Phase 2. My favorites are Lost Light and More Than Meets the Eye. I still have a really soft spot for the original G1 comics, because they were the first things that I read.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And so let's go over to Owls.
Hi, my name is Owls. So in contrast to my friend, I have been in the fandom for 3 months, maybe. It all started a fateful day when I watched someone on YouTube talk about Beast Wars. I had the sneaking suspicion of I vaguely liked Beast Machines growing up, didn't remember anything else, and thought, hey, I should watch Beast Wars. This was my first mistake. At which point, I messaged Specs and I was like, hey, you've got a copy of Beast Wars, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And she did, and I watched it, and then I rapidly ascended into Transformers madness, and I now lie at the bottom of a ravine getting buried by Toys Comics and various amounts of DVDs.
Yep. Ones that I've mostly lent you, but...
Mostly. I did buy Beast Machines because she didn't have it and I wanted to watch it, and I have opinions.
Yeah.
I have opinions that I won't get into right now, but I have opinions.
You also bought Beast Wars.
I also bought Beast Wars, but that's because it is my favorite Transformers thing. So I've probably watched about, like, 6 different animated series, and the Bay movies. Yes. And now I know enough to hate the Bay movies. Oh my god. I didn't know before, but now I do. Now I do.
Now you know the pain.
Now I do, yes. My desk is rapidly accumulating Transformers. Help. We've got Grumpy Desk Raptor, and we've got 99.9% done with your shit Rodimus Grandpa, and smaller, more murderous Desk Raptor. I'll leave it to you to figure out who those 3 are.
I like your Desk Raptors.
My
and Grumpy Grandpa.
I collect grumpy characters. This is going to become a theme. My favorite characters are Dinobot from Beast Wars, who is awesome, and I'm so mad he doesn't show up in anything else. But I guess I should just be happy he's alive in the IDW comics, and presumably in a good place.
He's in the Christmas episode.
There's an adorable
basically.
panel. It is my life. Anyway, so Dinobot from Beast Wars, Lost Light Megatron, which, if you've not read the comics, I won't tell you we're going to be spoiler-free here, but I also don't want to, like, be blatant about it. So, he's really well written, I really enjoy him, and there's a very, very obvious reason for that if you've read the comics. I also really like Transformers Prime Ratchet, who is just a serious mood. He, is trying to do his job, and then he's like, what the hell are all these human children doing in here? And you're breaking my shit. And honestly, that's kind of how I feel most days around children, yeah.
And then he takes over their science projects. Because of course he does.
Transformers Prime, though I love it, has some weird tonal issues.
We'll
get to that eventually.
It does.
I feel like I have to kind of do some honorable mentions for pretty much any version of Soundwave, Grimlock, and Starscream in existence, except for Grimlock from Car Robots or the 2001 Robots in Disguise, because he doesn't really act like Grimlock. Regardless, they're all delightful and I love them. And that basically sums up the characters I like for G1 pretty well, which is Soundwave and Grimlock are probably my favorites. I also rather enjoy Perceptor, and I enjoy Megatron for the pure delightful camp factor. He has no redeeming qualities, and I love him. None. So obviously, I've been here for 3 months. I know nothing about the fandom. I really wanted to do something to get involved, but was like, oh dear God, I can't draw robots. I don't really think I feel confident enough to post fanfic. And I thought, by God, my executive function must surely be worth something. And then I decided to put together a podcast because through the powers of organization, anything is possible.
It is. It is.
And here we are. Through the power of organization. That being said, with us doing this podcast, we really wanted to try to put some emphasis on fan works and fan art. And so what we would like to do with the episodes we release is recommend a fanfic and maybe some fan art with our episodes. Because Specs has been in the fandom for so long, she's got this great stash of vintage Transformers work. Not all of it we can share because some of it's been taken down and we don't want to post something without the original author's permission or it being posted somewhere. But basically we're hoping we can give you some good fanfics to kind of go with the theme of the episode. So it should be fun. That being said, if you've got recommendations for fan art or fan works,
or questions or complaints, I'm our complaints department for the record.
You can shoot us a message. You can find us on Tumblr. We are Afterspark Podcast on Tumblr. And you can find other methods in which to contact us there. All that being said, I think we've kind of come to the end of our intro here. Hopefully you will come join us on our delightful ride through Generation 1 and the waves of pure cheesiness we are about to embark on, because trust me, we are.
Our delightful ride on Jousting Jets.
A delightful ride on Jousting Jets. Just wait for it. Well, this is Els
and Specs
signing off. Thanks for listening to Afterspark Podcast.
Toodles.